found a place to heal my soul. It is right here, we are right here, between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
Our opening words this morning are from Christine Painter. As we awaken each morning, help us to remember this day is a gift. This breath is grace. This life a wonder. Remind us with every flower we see, every act of kindness, every moment of connection to whisper, thank you. Our chalice lighting words are from a Buddhist daily prayer. As we light our chalice, we remember with gratitude the people, animals, plants, insects, creatures of the sky and sea, air and water, fire and earth, all whose joyful exertion blesses our lives every day. We remember the care and labor of 1,000 generations of elders and ancestors who came before us. We offer our gratitude for safety and well-being, blessings of this earth, measure of health, family and friends, this community, and the teachings and lessons that we have been given. We offer our gratitude for this life that we have been given. We are very fortunate this morning to have Dr. Magda de la Paz Cabrero speaking with us this morning. She is a mindfulness practitioner, writer, visual artist in the Plum Village tradition of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. She holds a doctorate in education from the University of Maryland and has taught world language pedagogy, didn't do that right, pedagogy, and led restorative justice programs for youth. For over 30 years, she has advocated for children from historically marginalized communities through her work with TrueJusticeForYouth.org. Magda serves as a Dharma facilitator, coordinator of the Engaged Mindfulness Group, and council member of the Opening Heart Mindfulness Community in Washington, D.C., and the International Earth Holders Council. Her books, Vietnam, where Lotus Blooms and Walking on the Earth with Thich Nhat Hanh, weave poetic, reflection, art, history, and mindfulness. She is the daughter of Puerto Rican and Venezuelan parents. She writes bilingually and contributes regularly to the Mindfulness Bell, inviting readers to listen deeply to the earth, the breath, and the lotus blooming within. Magda is also a member of the Cedar Lane UU congregation in Maryland, and she coordinates the Journey Women. In case anyone is interested in joining online, she'd be happy to talk to you about that after the service. Please.
So this book, Vietnam, where the Lotus Blooms, is about my pilgrimage to Vietnam during the ashes ceremony for Thich Nhat Hanh. And we spent 2 weeks going through Vietnam, doing all kinds of things with the monastics and many people from the whole world, like maybe 150 more people. I am assuming many of you know Thich Nhat Hanh, so I'm just going to say a little bit, but you're going to find out much more through the presentation. So I always explain to my mother, Venezuelan mother, who's Thich Nhat Hanh. So I just say he's a humble monk from Vietnam who wanted to revive and modernize Buddhism. And he wanted it to engage in the world. He wanted us to share the peace we develop, cultivate through meditation and mindfulness, and then go in the world and share it without anger. Start my path with Thich Nhat Hanh. This is actually in my other book that is called Walking on Earth with Thich Nhat Hanh that I published two years ago. So maybe 10 years ago or more than 10 years ago, I found a book called The Heart of Buddha's Teaching. And that book, by the third page, I knew this was my path. I had finally found it after a lifetime of looking for spiritual guidance, right? So, and I joined the Unitarian 25 years ago, so that was very important to me too, as well. Those are my two spiritual paths, for sure. So, what really motivated me in this book was the way he talked about suffering. He said, on the third page, he said, suffering is not enough. Just don't dwell in suffering. Address it, hold it, release it, and move on. Okay, but address it, right? So read a very, very small part of my first book so I can share with you what suffering, the way I looked at suffering, right? So that's this is the book, and this is the picture. I illustrated it too. Both books are fully illustrated by me, and they have many pictures as well. So here on this book, this is both of us in front of a bamboo forest. We both had a big awakening. I had it in Japan, and he had it in Vietnam. So, Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah, so just to read to you a little bit about how I look at suffering right now, or I started maybe 10 years ago. Okay, my personal life had reached at that time when I found this path an all-time low, owing to things that I could not control, impermanent things. My happiness mostly depended on the mere wish for better times ahead. I fed a habit energy of giving too much importance to my emotions and had no idea what to do with them. I failed to consider how helpful it would be to explore the root causes of my emotions and learn how to regulate, transform, and release them. I also didn't appreciate the need to transform the negative seeds I had cultivated in myself or inherited from my ancestors. This is what I do. This is my main meditation, right? So that's not on any of the books, but I learned this meditation at the European Institute of Applied Buddhism in Germany. That used to be was going to be a Nazi hotel. And Thich Nhat Hanh converted it into another incredible monastery. So I remember at this meditation, I'll never forget it. So this is the way I meditate. You know, it's like many times I hold my hands on my lower belly, and I breathe in. I hold, I look at I feel my emotions from the day before, the night before. I hold them like a crying baby. That's what Thich Nhat Hanh asks us to do. And then I release them to the earth. You can see the mud there, no lotus. That was the name of the class I took. And when Brother Phap Anh talked about the lotus petals that are released through your head when you feel this peace. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you. If you could please, for 30 seconds, just breathe in deeply on and all the way to your lower belly. You may hold your hands, you may do any mudras. There are so many ways of using your hands, my hands or our hands to meditate. Hold it. It may be a negative feeling, it may be anger, it may be peace, whatever it is. And then release it to the earth, to the air, to this beautiful land of North Dakota. In the spring, I went to Plum Village. This is one of the many monasteries in the world. Our son used to live in Berlin, so I took the advantage of, I'm going to visit him, and I go to Plum Village. So this is the Black Buddha in Lower Hamlet. This is my favorite place in the world. And this is my favorite spot. I sit in front of her. She was donated by Thailand to Thay, and he decided to put it in the female monastery. And there are his ashes all around. I didn't know until maybe the last day I was there. And I've been there so many times. So I just sat in front of her, and all of it is, this is all Plum Village, Lower Hamlet, from, my imagination, what I saw, and so forth. And a lot of this story came to me. I wrote hundreds of pages about this, when I was in Vietnam, taking notes. I read a lot of books, whatever I heard, whatever I saw. But when I sat in front of this Buddha, the story came to me, and it always happens to me when I sit under the popular, they call it the popular cathedral. It's so beautiful if you can go there one day. So these are the two beautiful sisters who took us. The one on the left is Sister Din Niem. She's a Dharma teacher. Her stories, I've never laughed so much at a sermon. I kept laughing and laughing because a lot of my book is full of humor. Thich Nhat Hanh was a funny person. He was funny. He did really unconventional things he shouldn't have done as a teenager. He did them and so forth. And the stories came with humor. And the one on the right, I owe this book to her. She read every single word of this book. She corrected every single Vietnamese character that I hadn't completed, and she endorsed this book. She's a beautiful human being. I received the 5 mindfulness trainings thanks to her. I had waited 10 years to receive them. And when I listened to her one day, I was like, oh my God, I am going to do this right now. It was like I was listening to Thich Nhat Hanh talking. So, and there she is giving coconuts to us at Da Nang. A lot of Vietnam in my book, but just very, very important places. So this is a UNESCO site that is incredibly beautiful. It's a Trang An. It used to be like a place for kings. This was a very important place, and full of cars. So we were like under, kind of rocky areas, really under walking, going through the waters. It was beautiful. This is Thich Nhat Hanh. This is his inspiration. He was a poet. He was a king. He was the Trang Nang Tong. He was the incredibly important king in Vietnam. He was very successful. He liberated Vietnam 2 times from the Mongols. I mean, he protected them from the Mongols, the invasion of the Mongols. But one day, he decided to go barefoot all over Vietnam and founded what it really is the Zen tradition that I follow. The old tradition. He went all over Vietnam, and he relinquished everything to bring Buddhism to Vietnam. And this, we went, and too, you can see I was up here looking down. We went very much, we hiked a lot to go to the top. These monastics are so athletic. They are unbelievable. They truly are, So anyway, so this is the statue of the king, and apparently when he passed or continued, like we say, he didn't want any of this pomp and circumstance, just like Thich Nhat Hanh. But of course, society, the culture, they make it very, they made it a gold, a golden statue and so forth. But it's just a very beautiful place. It's called Yen Tu in Vietnam. I was becoming a council member of Earth Holders as I was returning from Vietnam, and this really changed my life. This really made me a much better Earth Holder. Not that I'm perfect by any means, but it really, really, really changed me, this trip. We traveled with many order of interbeing people. These are people who are they're like the right hands of the monastics. They're lay people, but they're really, I love to talk to them. They talk about Dharma, all the talk is like high level. It's very beautiful. And these are my Malaysian friends. I just visited them in Kuala Lumpur this summer there because I was at some conference there, and they are beautiful people. And we were at Da Nang there in Vietnam. So this is an example of all the friendships you make in this tradition. Yes, go ahead. But that's the thing, with this tradition, you could go anywhere in the world and you have best friends and soulmates and family members who always welcome you to their house and things like that. Yeah, so this is really important. This is in Hanoi. It looks like China out there. You know, it's almost, you feel like you're in China. But this is the capital, of course. And but this very simple structure is called the One Pillar Pagoda in Hanoi. It came during the Lee dynasty. They tried very hard, the Lee dynasty tried very hard to unify Vietnam. And they were also extremely, they wanted to be respected. They wanted their culture to be respected. And this was very important for Thich Nhat Hanh, because for him, simplicity, but also self-respect, not being colonized by anyone, was very important as well. So for him, this is like an inspiration, this one pillar. This is like a lotus flower rise. The dream that came to this king was a lotus flower rising from the water, like a lotus pond. So this was destroyed one time, and it was immediately rebuilt. And this is what Thich Nhat Hanh was. When his mother's town was bombed again and again and again, he kept rebuilding it. He said, I don't care, we're gonna rebuild. Okay, so that's the way he was, you know, he is. Yeah, so this is super iconic in Vietnamese Buddhism as well. This, this trip was 2 weeks, and many people only came to the second part only to come to Phu Boi, only. This was their big inspiration. When you go to Phu Boi, there is nothing that you see here, because this Thich Nhat Hanh, this was the first hermitage Thich Nhat Hanh founded in not far from the beautiful Dalat Mountains. I brought you oolong tea from Vietnam, that you have it there for you in the middle. So he wanted to found a hermitage, you know, of course, to cultivate Buddhism, but also he was exhausted because he tried so hard to change the establishment of Buddhism in Vietnam. He came here, he was sick, he had no penny. He had spent the equivalent of $140 to buy this entire land, and he had no money for medication, so he planted tea, and that's why tea is so important in this practice. And for him, this is like super important healing practice and healing mindfulness. Fragrant palm leaves. We all had to read it to go there. I read it many times so far. This is probably one of my favorite books. It's his journal. He wrote the journal. He had been in Columbia University and Princeton, right? And he wrote the first journal, the first part of the journals from Columbia. He fell in deep depression in Colombia, and his roommate saved him, you know, pretty much, okay, because he said, well, I know what my life is gonna bring. It's like I'm pregnant, and I know my baby is gonna die already. Like he knew he was gonna become you know, he became an exile for 39 years, right? He was no money, nothing. No, he couldn't go back to Vietnam. I mean, not after this, because he went back to Vietnam, wrote the second part of the journal, and then the very last page he wrote the journal, that day was the last day he was ever in Vietnam for 39 years. So anyway, many people went there to see nothing other than the eucalyptus tree you see there to the right, what else? I think that was so. Oh, what I love of this picture of this whole book is when he's describing how they brought 2,000 books to this place, and they put them all on the very top where you see those three people talking about engaged Buddhism. That's what I say. They put 2,000 books. They call it the montagnard, like the mountain people house, because, I mean, so everybody's talking about, okay, how on earth did he put 2,000 books? Did he stack them all like this? You know, how did that happen? Okay, so now I'm bringing you to the most important part of the trip, is Hue, okay? This is where Thich Nhat Hanh spent his first 5 years of life, when he returned after exile, and when he returned to continue, which means to pass to another life. right? Another dimension. So this is where his ashes ceremony took place. You felt like Taoism, like Confucianism. You felt the 10,000 things in that place. Like when I got there, I felt the earth was so magnetic, I couldn't leave. I was so open to all this energy and to know that this person had walked, this was his home, right, for so long. So it was just so beautiful. But anyway, I went ahead. So this is Hue, so you can see Hue is extremely luscious. We went in February, it was raining a lot. The Perfume River was extremely beautiful. It's a green because everything is so incredibly green around. And that Sister Tue, of course, taking us on a brisk walk in the morning. And then that's a lotus. That's an example of the beauty in Vietnam. There are flowers everywhere. And this is just an ornament on the water. Like lotus is so important. And you know how poetic Thich Nhat Hanh was, how much he cared about flowers. When you are in Vietnam, you understand why. You go to the airport, there are no paintings, only plants and flowers. And this is before Tet, the day, like 3 days, like a week before Tet, few days. Everything, do you know what the gift is? Trees. You see motorcycles in Hanoi, full of motorcycles, everybody carrying a small tree, a peach, apricot, mandarin, orange, and bamboo. So this, everywhere you go is all trees. Instead of physical things, material things, it's all nature, right? It's very beautiful. This is Tuhiu. This is they call it the root temple, and that's the entrance, right? But that's inside. That's the Half Moon Pond where Thich Nhat Hanh used to open jackfruit. They are so sticky and they eat it every day, right? We ate so much of that. So he had to hold it with his feet when he was a teenager because he entered at the age of 16 to help the cook because he did all kinds of really, really hard jobs in that place. Dirty jobs, like he had to go and take a shower like right away. They were really rough jobs he did. So that's where the urn is. You can see it on the right. It's blue. It's very beautiful. And then that's his hut. That's where, so he lived in this very small space, and he said, like, you know how unconventional he was? He said, absolutely no stupa. If you see something like stupa, you say, Thich Nhat Hanh is not here. And what did the government do? They created a huge crematorium only for Thich Nhat Hanh because he didn't want to reward him because he didn't want to use any more land. Because, people are buried and there is a lot of use of land for their ancestors, which the French didn't like. They wanted to eliminate all of that. They wanted only their churches, not the ancestor, reverence and all that. So this is much smaller. It's small, but they decorate, they made it look bigger, but it's really a very small space where he lived. You know how artistic he was, how important his calligraphy is. You can see that circle. I've seen it in hotels. I've seen it in so many places, that circle of, the circle of interbeing, which is the most important lesson of his. So this was the museum next to Tuhiu. There was a beautiful museum. You see his bed, his incredible desk with his manuscripts. I mean, unbelievable place there next to the root temple. Me doing work meditation. Because when you go to Plum Village, any monastery in the world, they put you in a family. Because Thich Nhat Hanh says retreats are not for people to be alone, So he wants people to be in a family. A lot of times you are alone, you are in silence doing work. Work meditation is in silence, a lot of it. So I'm here very happy sweeping the leaves, and then Vietnamese people keep coming to take my broom. I'm like, no, I want it. So I have to give it to them because they have to build merit. They go to monasteries to build merit, right? So they do it by helping. The way I look at it, okay? So this is my painting. Of course, everything is illustrated by me. The only present things that were happening that day were me sweeping these little girls playing with cairns, and I thought Thich Nhat Hanh would be in heaven, looking at them and laughing and smiling, because he loved pebbles. He wanted children to play with pebbles to meditate. Like the book, A Pebble for Your Pocket is his, right? This, when we arrived at Tuhiu, the sister took us to this red earth, and we were singing, I am home, I have arrived. And we were all like crying because it was such an incredible experience to be there. And everything else is Thich Nhat Hanh's life. When he came with his brother with his arm around his shoulder, he was 16, and he felt free. He said, this is freedom. The thing is Thich Nhat Hanh, when he came with his brother, you see him in the wheelchair. The only time I saw him in my life, was on a wheelchair in one of his bookstores in Lower Hamlet. This was incredible experience for me. His master making his robe that had been used by many people behind him, and this is the biggest treasure in his life. So you find all this information on my master's robe. We had to read this book as well to go to this place. Extremely beautiful book, incredible book. So yeah, So I was sitting in Hanoi. I remember we were about to leave 2 weeks later, and I thought, what is this book about? And I thought, this book is about hands and feet. It's about hands and steps. Because everything we did, everywhere we went, the sisters would say, walk in Thich Nhat Hanh's body, Dharma body, they call it, the teachings, right? Touch like Thich Nhat Hanh would have touched. Walk like Thich Nhat Hanh is walking with you, because in Buddhism, you believe that you are always alive. You really, like Thich Nhat Hanh says, look at your hand. Your mother is in your hand. Your mother will never leave you, right? And so we were continuing his legacy through our journey. So next time. Yeah, so this is chapter 3. I decided to call it The Hands of Thich Nhat Hanh, because it's his hands, but also what he wants us to do with our hands, engage Buddhism, right? We have to go in the world and share our peace, like I said before. So that chapter has about 15 sections, and all these petals are, in a way, a chapter. So, and the very top picture, that was Thich Nhat Hanh. This was right before he had a stroke, and then he lived many more years after that. But with his right hand, he had it on his heart, and the left, he was deeply in meditation while they were singing Namo Avalokiteshvara, which is an incredibly beautiful chant. So he's opening a lotus flower, but deep in meditation, and once in a while he would invite the bell, So I was so inspired by that, so that's why I painted him on top. And then this is the Avalokiteshvara of many hands that tends to the needs of the world, right? So it's like a big divinity of compassion that is everywhere you go in Asia, right? So all of this, you see the bell, this is the engaged mindfulness. You see that child, he's touching the head of the child. That's the child of an incarcerated woman. That's something we do a lot with our engaged mindfulness group in our Sangha in Maryland. We try to help children of incarcerated women, for example. So you see Thay on his desk. That's my revered thing, is his books. It's an example. This is where Thich Nhat Hanh fell in love, believe it or not, Vian Gyat Temple, and I would have fallen in love as well in this place. It's so beautiful. And, all this, he fell in love with a nun. It's in his book, Cultivating the Mind of Love. And of course, didn't work out. So anyway, next. So you can see, that's an example of all the hands, all the mudras that are used to give things to the world, okay? And then this is Quan Am. Everywhere in Vietnam, this is a female figure, and everywhere you see it. And that was the Buddha of the very funny hands in front of which I sit and write. the Black Buddha in Lower Hamlet. So earth holders, there is a lot about earth holders, green fingers. Thich Nhat Hanh in Zen and the Art of Saving of the Planet, he says, the earth holders are artists, peace warriors, and meditators. So that's really important. His paternal temple, extremely fertile land. That's what he was used to. The Museum of Vietnamese Women, before Tet, look at the flowers. It was unbelievable the amount of flowers I saw. I've never seen so many in my life. Oh, and we were always hugging trees, and this is very this is very accepted in this tradition. So, nobody thinks you are weird. So you're very welcome to go to Lower Hamlet and keep hugging trees. And this is the pine tree. He planted 2-needle pine from where he brought it to Fomboy, to his hermitage, where he felt so free. And this is chapter 4. So the reason I wrote this, I was inspired because we were in front of the temple, very sacred temple in the root temple. I mean, like a altar, very sacred. There was a column, and Thich Nhat Hanh was a teenager, rebel, and he wrote graffiti on the column. And he wrote, human beings are, what was it? Human beings are countless. I am going to help them all. And the sister said, oh my God, he was such a rebel. So the whole chapter is 10 subsections. It's all about all the incredible ways he was unconventional, all like the way he was free from anger. Number one, that was so important for him. Free from fear, free from dogma. He said, use the dogma as a raft to go to the other shore, from complex of superiority. I mean, he was so free. There are so, like, many, many, many ways, and many funny ways he was unconventional too. They are there, and thank you so much. So, and now we're going to go into the tea ceremony. So I wanted, not ceremony, I wish, but the tea practice. So if I just want to tell you, in in the other book, Walking on Earth with Thich Nhat Hanh, I wrote, there is a whole chapter on the tea ceremony. This book is full of Dharma talks I've given in my Sangha. So I always write, we have to write up something, and I illustrated everyone, and it's from Puerto Rico. I went to the world, discovered Thich Nhat Hanh, and I went back to Puerto Rico during COVID after Hurricane Maria, repeated earthquakes, to be with my mother, who's 93. Okay, so how this practice was incredible for me. But this book has a chapter about the tea ceremony, but this book also has a lot of information about the tea houses in Vietnam, the different kinds of tea, all the different ceremonies, the different value, drinking tea in Plum Village. A lot of this book also has, as I said, a lot of Plum Village as well.
We extinguish the chalice with these closing words by the Reverend Michelle Collins. This flame is extinguished, but our gratitude continues in action. May your appreciation for life's gifts translate into work that extends those same blessings to others.